Yo Joe and welcome to another epic video of Stevie's Customs. Today I'm gonna show you how to remove Red Dog's hair and give him a sweet mohawk. My weapons of choice are this X-Acto knife and my Dremel, which sounds like this. Okay, back to the blues. I used my Dremel Micro to remove Red Dog's headband, and later I also remove his hair. I use my hobby knife to scrape away all big obstacles. Be very careful when you cut away pieces because this knife is extremely sharp. I use the sanding tool on my micro Dremel again to sand away all of his hair. For some reason this clip is very satisfying to me. For the next part I have to cut away big chunks of plastic. So for that I use another tool on my micro Dremel, which sounds like this. This sculpting tool I use to sculpt the back of the head where the neck transitions to the head to create a ridge of some sort. I use Dr. Mindbender as a template for where the skull begins and the neck ends, or where the neck ends and the skull begins, of course, depending on how you look at it. Again, be very careful with your blade since it's extremely sharp. Before I go further, I clean the head with some ammonia. Next I use my patented clean shave technique, in which I use my X-Acto blade to scrape away all the bumps in his head, so he gets a nice, shaven, smooth, bald head. For a more natural look, I want to create more dents on each side of his skull. I'm going to use my Dremel Micro again. After the clean shave, it's time for some more Dremel sanding. In this stage, be very careful not to remove any details in the mold. for instance the eyebrows or the ears. Still need some more shaving. With the tip of the knife, you can sculpt some details or resculpt some details, for instance the eyebrows or the ears, but you can do this with any detail you want to create actually. To smoothen the cut, I use the sanding tool on my Dremel again. And before I use the sanding paper, I give him one last clean with some ammonia. To really make his head as bold as possible, I use sanding paper, first with grain 600 and then grain 800. And here is the final result. Our dog's nice, bold head without any hair. To create the mohawk, I use brown stuff, which is kind of like green stuff, but then it's brown. It cures a bit harder. I pre-mixed some up front. To sculpt the mohawk, I use different tools. I use these, what you call them, shapers, which are made of silicone. And I use this tool to create some details in the hair and some super glue to keep it all in place. Just a small piece of brown stuff is needed to create the small roll for the mohawk. I always make more than I need, and I use the spare piece to check if the brown stuff is cured enough before I'm going to paint it. First I put a little drop of super glue on the head, a little drop. Yes, thank you. To keep the brown stuff in place. It is a bit sticky of itself, but I find just a small drop of super glue would extra fix the mohawk in the end. I use my finger to create the basic shape of the mohawk. No tools are necessary. To make the mohawk really part of his hair, I use this cone-shaped shaper, which I use to push down the brown stuff, which is soft, to make more details into the shape and to make it really part of the sculpt. Then I use another shaper to flatten the surfaces. Next I use these sculpting brushes to create details into the mohawk. The plastic brush didn't really give the details I wanted, so I used one with copper wires, which is very hard and creates deeper dimples. And there you have it, Red Dog without his own hair, with a nice bald head and a nice mohawk. I made a separate video of how I paint this head, because he's gonna look very different from this. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay safe, and bye bye Joes, bye bye.